State regime media known as Fox was having a total meltdown live on air last night. Laura Ingraham was just freaking out that California Governor Gavin Newsom is just punching Donald Trump back in the face so hard. Watch Ingraham panic on live TV. Play this clip.
Newsom doesn't care. So the lies, they just don't stop.
He doesn't want more people voting. He wants to suppress and chill the vote.
Wait a second. Trump's for voter suppression? There was a record turnout last election, a fact that Trump regularly celebrates. But of course, since liberals oppose voter ID and they believe that illegal aliens should be allowed to vote, to them, Trump's enforcing immigration law and requiring ID, well, I guess that is tantamount to voter suppression.
And you can see how desperate she is because she's like, Governor Newsom, weak when it comes to Donald Trump taking over Intel. Strong. But Gavin Newsom, weak. Okay, Laura, play this clip.
Oh, Gav also took a shot at Hannity and yours truly, asking, how can we oppose socialism, Mamdani style, but not question the Trump administration purchasing a 10% stake in Intel?
I love these guys. Hey, Sean Hannity, you watching? You're so disgusted, Laura? So sickened by Mamdani talking about, socializing a bodega or something or a grocery store. And here you are, Intel. You just socialize and nationalize Intel.
Weak. Intel, chip maker, national security. A little different from the government owning grocery stores and setting prices, just a little bit. Plus, when I interviewed Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, I did raise Rand Paul's criticism of the deal. But again, Gavin's not having the truth.
Then they bring on this weirdo guest, Berenson, who's like, the president's obviously a brilliant man. Donald Trump's obviously very brilliant. And I think that one of the things that we need to do, though, is that's why we need to outlaw all cannabis. No marijuana, everybody. Marijuana bad. Here, play this clip.
And so, by the way, right now, the president of the United States, who obviously, very smart, very committed to public safety, is thinking about whether or not to what's called reschedule cannabis to a Schedule III drug, which would make it more easy for the industry to make a lot of money to keep pushing this drug on people. And I hope that he understands that we are likely to see more crime like this if there is more cannabis use. And I know public safety is important to him.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope that does not happen. President Trump is really smart, and he knows what drug use can do, especially to young people, and legitimizing this, mainstreaming it even more. I don't think any good is going to come of it. Alex, thanks.
Where do they get these weirdos on the show? Speaking of which, then you have Stephen Miller say, the greatest abuse ever in our democracy is Democrats doing mass, anonymous, unverified mail-in ballots. Dude, what are you talking about? Mail-in ballots are verified? What, it was stupid. Here, play this clip.
The single greatest abuse of voting in any democracy in the world today is the Democrat Party's policy of mass, anonymous, unverified mail-in ballots.
They're just a bunch of fearmongers, these MAGAs, and just weird human beings, like weird loser human beings. Like this guy, Trey Gowdy, a former MAGA Republican Congress member, and he's like, I just love the contrast, how strong Donald Trump is, how weak Gavin Newsom is. And we'll see, is Donald Trump going to run for re-election in 2028? Fascism. Look at me, I'm Trey Gowdy. I look like the teacher on South Park. Here, play this clip.
I love the contrast of what Gavin Newsom stands for versus whoever comes after President Trump if he opts not to run for re-election. Again, clearly Trump is inside Gavin Newsom's head. Now, the problem is he's rolling around and he's lonely because there's not a lot else there. Look, get over President Trump. He's got you, Gavin. Get over him.
All right, then we have Jesse Waters. Jesse Waters, I don't even know how this is television at this point, as Mehdi Hassan's like news channel. Jesse Waters is like, who is prettier, Melania or Michelle? But they get on magazine covers and not Melania. Here, play this clip.
Maximizing the viewership.
Was Jill on the cover?
Yeah. Twice, I think.
She was on the cover twice?
And then you have...
Michelle Obama on the cover?
3 times.
Okay.
On Vogue.
Do you think those two women are prettier than Melania Trump?
You're not
more
going
on
to
that,
answer
let's
that.
go to
Not going to answer that.
No, do you think they're pretty?
No, Melania,
is it not about pretty? Is it about fashion? Because Melania is also more fashionable.
Right. She is. She's the most attractive first lady ever. Let's be honest. I have not seen Martha
Washington.
I have not seen her.
She's not your type?
The problem is when you have portraits instead of pictures,
You can't
don't
really get a good look.
Thank you.
What about Jackie O?
All right. What's your point? Why am I?
What's my point?
Yeah.
What's your point? You said she's going to start dating somebody.
Can I say to you guys?
Then they bring on their MAGA Republican Congress members on Fox who start to just basically say it out loud, which is Washington, D.C. is a case study. We're going to do the fascism in D.C., send the National Guard next to the other cities, which they mean Democratic cities and not the red cities, even though there's more crime by far in the red states. Play this clip.
Yesterday, Congressman, you, of course, are the neighbor of Chicago. You guys are right there together. What do you make of everything that you're seeing in the Windy City?
Yeah, I'm in Chicago all the time. I mean, it's certainly, I think, no secret to anyone that watches Chicago media on a regular basis that, unfortunately, the first couple of stories on local news is always about somebody either being certainly the subject of criminal activity or, unfortunately, the high murder rate. So I think what President Trump is doing is not only, I think, sending a message, but certainly I think is now having kind of a very practical application to what some of these mayors have been unable to do, which is to kind of pull together what they think would be a good mix of local policing and federal law enforcement to try and curb these. And what President Trump is doing in D.C. has now become very quickly a blueprint for what I think we should see in some of these other urban areas that for decades we have just seen these statistics and numbers related to crime that have just been out of control. And it's almost embarrassing, I think, when you see some of these local elected officials, especially in the spring, who say, well, get ready for the summer crime spike. It's just become so normal for them that it's very difficult for them to even see, I think, what the president is really trying to do, which is to clean this up. Mm-hmm. And using, I think, the authority granted to him to deploy the National Guard for 30 days is obviously having an impact in D.C. And I think it can be applied in other larger cities throughout the states.
Even the mayor of D.C. acknowledged that.
And you have MAGA Republican James Comer. Let's play it.
We can prove that Washington, D.C. has been dishonest with their statistics. We'll take this show on the road to other cities because we've got to get serious about crime. The American people expect somebody to do something about it. The Democrats aren't doing anything about it. President Trump is, and the Republicans in Congress hopefully will be too.
And then this was the line that they kept on pushing on Fox over and over again yesterday. They're like, Democrats are saying that we shouldn't be just doing thoughts and prayer because the children who were in the school where there was the shooting in Minneapolis were praying during the shooting. So Democrats hate thoughts and prayer? No, Democrats don't hate thoughts and prayers. I'm sure thoughts and prayer, you want to pray. But then let's also do common sense gun reform. Please, 85% of Americans want common sense gun reform. We don't want people like that shooter getting access to these weapons of war. It's why California Governor Newsom's like, do both. This is what J.D. Vance, Just Dance Vance, was saying on Fox. Let's play it.
My final point on this is when I see far-left politicians say, how dare you offer thoughts and prayers, you need action. I don't care about your prayers, I care about what you're going to do to prevent this from happening. Why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't you pray for the speedy recovery of these kids who literally just got shot yesterday, while at the same time committing to making sure this doesn't happen again or that it happens as infrequently as possible? I don't think there's anything inconsistent about saying a prayer to God for these innocent, beautiful kids, while also thinking constructively about how we're going to prevent this from happening the next time. You can do both of those things. You can hold a thought, both of those thoughts in your head at the same time. And Will, if you are a politician or you're a media commentator and two beautiful babies just got murdered while praying, and your politics force you to condemn prayer in response to it, you ought to get new politics because something very wrong has gone on inside your soul.
Then you bring on RFK Jr. to spew his quackery, his just lies and disinformation about the medical profession. There's a reason why there's a mass exodus of people working at the CDC after they fired the former head of the CDC. Now all the senior execs are leaving. And what this is how RFK Jr. is trying to exploit the tragedy of this school shooting by saying, and we're going to be looking into the pharmaceuticals to see if that was the reason for this. Here, play this clip.
And we're still trying to get a lot of answers to a ton of questions. But the one thing is clear. You are dealing with a person who's trans, that was transitioning. Are you going to be examining at all some of the drugs that are used in order to make that transition happening, to see if it plays a role? Because we also know there was a trans shooter in the Tennessee situation.
Yeah, we are doing those kind of studies now at NIH. We're launching studies on the potential contribution of some of the SSRI drugs and some of the other psychiatric drugs that might be contributing to violence. You know, many of them on there have black box warnings that warn of suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation. So we can't exclude those as a culprit, and those are the kind of studies that we're doing.
So I've never seen that medicine, but you're saying that if you get it, some of the side effects could be homicide, suicide?
Well, there are black box warnings on some of these psychiatric drugs that warn about, in their clinical trials, that they saw suicidal and homicidal ideation. So, you know, we are going into that with an open mind.
More from J.D. Vance right here. J.D. Vance says that why is Gavin Newsom trying to imitate Trump? He's like a poor man's Trump. He's not doing a good Trump. No, he's mocking Trump, Just Dance. He's mocking you and he's mocking Trump. Here, play this clip.
You bring up humor. Gavin Newsom sure thinks he's a comedian these days on social media, and so does much of the left. His polling numbers have gone way up since he started mimicking President Trump on social media.
Yeah.
What do you make of Governor Newsom?
I make of Governor Newsom that you said he's mimicking Donald Trump, and I think that's exactly right. The lesson of Donald Trump, the lesson of President Trump in American politics is you've got to be authentic to yourself. And when I see Gavin Newsom trying to act like Donald Trump, that's the opposite of authenticity. He's not trying to be Gavin Newsom, whoever that is. He's trying to be a fake carbon copy of Donald Trump, and it just doesn't work. You can't mimic the king. You can't mimic the master. You ought to just go and be yourself, and I think that the American people would like that a lot more than a cheap imitation of the President of the United States.
More on J.D. Vance, who's like, you know, the big problem with the Democrats is they're just not funny. They need to have more of a sense of humor, the way Donald Trump has the way we MAGAs have a sense of humor about ourselves, like Donald. Here, play this clip.
One, she thought politicians ought to have a sense of humor. Democrats, the one thing they should learn from President Trump is to laugh at themselves a little bit. They don't have to be so serious. They don't have to get offended at everything. Sometimes it's actually a good thing to have a sense of humor about our political process.
Dude, Donald canceled the White House Correspondents' Dinner because he couldn't take being roasted on stage. I mean, y'all are the biggest freaking snowflakes in the world. As soon as you punch back against these idiots, they play the victim right away. Our friend Jessica Tarlov on the 5, she crushed it. I'll show you this clip. Let's play it.
Jessica, he does put the lib in glib. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Do you think he can, like, you praise him for this kind of like in your face stuff, but what does he have to back it up?
Well, crime and homelessness is down in California. I'm not saying that if he is the nominee that there won't be a sea of photos and, you know, accounts of what it was like living in California, but
you know
it's
the
trending in
data
the
is
right
doctored. We know that. We've gone through that.
Okay. All right. So everything is bad, but you know, you say Gavin Newsom needs to focus on California stuff. This redistricting fight is California stuff because of what Donald Trump asked of Texas, and
it's a political issue, but it doesn't affect the voters.
It does. Well, it does.
No, it's not. It doesn't rebuild homes. It doesn't get the druggies off the street. It's just about how can I redistrict.
It doesn't serve Californians.
Well, it does, because there are millions of Californians on Medicaid that need to be able to keep their health care. If the GOP keeps them, all right.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. So what's going on Fox? We'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Thanks for watching. Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.